Gino, that's not good. This is flat out a bad football team that gives you no confidence from the second that the game kicks off.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it's such a shame that these receivers for Syracuse can't get more touches, because I think personally this offense for Syracuse, minus who's giving the passes out,
important guy,
some of the best offense in all of the ACC, and the fact that they just continue to struggle and struggle to put points on the board is pretty horrific.
Yeah, it's just bad all around. 24 passing yards in the first half. The Syracuse offense, once again, just flat out anemic. We'll get into all of that, plus the defense. I mean, they gave up 41 points. Not too good as well. We'll be on the air until 5 p.m., so don't go anywhere, because the double overtime starts right now.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER is not. Here on the double overtime, we'll be breaking down all the highs.
Quarter claps. This time he gets it. Looks to the left corner of the end zone. 1v1 ball for Meeks. He went up there and he got it. Touchdown, Syracuse.
Ford takes the snap, drops back, looking to the left, lofts it down the field, and gets it, catches it. Gain of 20, first down, Orange.
McCord in the gun, takes the snap, hands off Allen, and one-on-one with the UNLV defender. He breaks the tackle and finds the end zone. Absolute cinema in the Sin City.
And the lows.
Ford the snap, throws it near side, it's intercepted by Pittsburgh to the 10, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown Panthers. Rasheem Biles with a pick six to the house. The snap, the hold, the kick is up, and it's good. And then Kenny is the hero. It's Syracuse. The Cardinal walk off the orange.
Delivering our hottest takes along the way.
When you have this many talented receivers, this deep of a group, someone has to be in single coverage.
It was Jackson Meeks.
They talked about it in Jackson Meeks in the second half, but in that sense, it was Trevor Pena. You leave Pena wide open, and you get him a great chance to make a great catch.
What did we just watch?
I don't know.
This is the third-ranked passing offense in the nation going into the game. I'm sorry, that team did not show up. They were left in the bye week. A lot of rust offensively to start this one off, and it never got better for the Orange.
Get your voice heard by calling in at 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Well, Syracuse gets embarrassed once again. That feels like the trend at this point under Ricky Collins. 4 games with the new QB1 and 4 games where the Orange just flat out have not looked competitive. This week, another blowout loss, 41-16 at the hands of number 7 Georgia Tech. Welcome into the double overtime here on WAER. Adam Gonkin alongside Gino Antamarino. And you could just tell from the start of this game that it was going to be a long one. I mean, it could not have started any better, where Syracuse gets the ball after the second play of the game where Georgia Tech fumbles in plus territory at the 42-yard line. First play on offense, a 41-yard gain to the 1-yard line. And then you have 2 false starts, you have to call a timeout, and you end up with a field goal. Just from the very first offensive possession, where you couldn't have been handed a better situation, it's awful. It's so bad. At home, how perplexed were you with the fact that Syracuse only got 3 points on that first drive? Call in 315-443-2011. You can interact with us on YouTube, on Twitter, at WAER Sports Talk. Gino, when they came up with a field goal on that first drive, I knew it was over. If they couldn't score a touchdown with that, never had a chance.
I'm not surprised. I mean, we were both in Dallas for that SMU game, Adam, and we saw it very early in that game against the Mustangs, where they went marching down the field. They're they're right there on the doorstep. 3rd and goal at the 1, can't get it. 4th and goal at the 1, can't get it. Turnover on downs. They don't get any points on that drive. Then into today's game against Georgia Tech, where again you're right there knocking on the door, and you have a big time defensive play that Chris Peel strip that got the ball for Syracuse in Georgia Tech territory. You had the Yasin Willis absolute scramble. I mean, he had Georgia Tech guys draped all over him.
He had to be dragged down for 5 yards.
Takes you inside the 5. And like you said, 1st and goal from inside the 5, and you can't capitalize. And also, you got to talk about, you had a couple of false starts with Dan Villari and John Cook. I mean, you talk about the penalties and just being undisciplined. I mean, last game against Pittsburgh was horrific. Mm-hmm. You had 10-plus penalties, and that were accepted, by the way, not the ones that were declined. And then into today's game, where it was just timeliness, where it's like you just have to be more disciplined in those situations.
Even when this team is put in a position to be successful, it's not. I mean, like, you get the ball 1st and goal at the 1. 2 false starts. You can't even get the play call in. You call timeout. And then you finally have 3rd and long, 3rd and 14, 3rd and goal at the 14.
Yeah.
And you run the ball up the middle with Will Nixon.
Yeah.
That play call made me lose my mind.
Oh, I know.
How do you not trust your quarterback on 3rd and goal at the 14-yard line to at least shoot for the end zone? You're going to try and run it up the middle? That's not going to work. Like, why is that the decision? To me, it simply makes absolutely no sense.
The play calling was absolutely horrific. And then you fast forward into the second quarter with about 50 seconds left. It was 4th and 1, and you got Collins in the shotgun with Willis. I mean, that's or Nixon rather, and not Willis. That's the issue. Willis is the guy that he is the muscle man, right? Nixon's the guy that you go out with the screen passes, you hit him. He can make those catches. He's pretty elusive. Willis is a guy you hand the ball off to and you say, just go to town, right? Act like Wreck-It Ralph. You're just plowing through guys. And to not have him in that situation, and also when Nixon, he should have absolutely picked up 1 yard.
Yeah.
He faced the tackler about a yard short, and instead of extending, he just goes straight down.
There were multiple times where Will Nixon could have reached the ball forward. One was for a touchdown, and then the other for that first down, and he doesn't do it. Honestly, I put this game on the coaching staff more than I do the players. I think Pitt, it was a lot more the players. This one, to me, it's all the coaches. What do you think at home? 315-443-2011. We want to hear your thoughts. And I say it's the coaches because even though maybe it was the players who didn't reach their arm out or the players who false started or any of those things, like, that's all the stuff that you got to get right from week 1. And if you're not getting it right, like, any football player can do that. Like, that is all on the coaches, the discipline, those penalties, the details. And I mean, you have to be better. Yeah, that is Dart. Like, where is the detail?
Exactly. And then also you want to talk about just not having that, the I's dotted and the T's crossed. I mean, how about the amount of missed tackles we saw today? I mean, in particular, that run from Haynes King, I want to say it was at the end of the second quarter, where, it was towards the end of the second quarter. Haynes King takes it right up the gut, and you had 2 or 3 guys, including Deuce Chestnut, who's one of the leaders on that defense, just grab him and then almost just like he was trying to avoid him, like kind of olayed him, and King just walks right past him. I mean, you got to be ready to hit, and that was something that Fran Brown preached in heading into this season in training camp. We have to be ready to hit. We've got to be tough, and the defense sort of sits middle of the pack. I know we'll get into the defense a little bit later, but sits middle in the pack in terms of hit grades, in terms of how many missed tackles they have. They have over 10 missed tackles a game, which is not great. But you want to talk about just not doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that just is unacceptable, especially against the 7th best team in the country.
Yeah, and as you said, I didn't think the defense was the issue in this game, even though they gave up 41 points. The offense didn't give them a chance. They didn't give them a chance to actually maybe play with a lead or have some momentum, because every single second of the game that the defense was on the field, it was playing all the way back on his heels. And, I want to get more into this offense and specifically into the offensive play calling, Gino, because there was a lot that just made absolutely no sense to me in this game. So I think the biggest thing that honestly stuck out is, once again, Ricky Collins looked pretty good with his legs. There was one play. It was the first pass that he completed of the game with 2.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Not great, but like Ricky rolls out, throws into the flat, and gets a first down. Like you have him move the pocket himself, a quick rollout, throw it to the flat, you get a first down. And that took until the third drive for them to even have a play where they get his legs moving, get him comfortable. I don't understand why that's not your third and goal play or your second and goal play of let's roll out and try and get a guy into the corner of the end zone.
Well, there were times. I mean, we saw Ricky Collins at times try and do that. I mean, even on that first drive for Syracuse when they were after a couple of false starts. I mean, Ricky Collins was trying to extend the play with his legs, and I mean, it's almost like he's
But that's different
hesitant.
from a designed run.
Sure.
That's they're having him drop back and try and process everything in the moment.
Absolutely.
I'm saying make it easy on him. A designed rollout.
Gotcha.
Those quarterback runs, those things where he doesn't have to think. Because you can tell he's just thinking so much.
He is.
In the fourth quarter of this game, when ESPN obviously didn't care what was going on anymore, and they had the sky cam view. I like to say the Madden view where you can see behind him, and you can just tell in that view from behind the quarterback where Ricky's just trying to process so much, and he can't see it well. You have to make it easier on the quarterback, and that's where I blame it on the coaches of he's in a tough spot. Yeah, he is. Then make it easy. Design those rollouts. Have him run the ball. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to just yell it out aimlessly into no one that Ricky Collins, anytime he runs.
I heard you.
You did, because I was loud. I almost lost my voice last week screaming about it. But anytime Ricky runs, it ends up pretty well. I
agree.
He was pretty decent today running the football. 41 yards on the ground, and college football,
strong,
your sacks are.
too.
But he's strong. He breaks tackles. He's decisive when he runs. I counted not a single designed run today, and they had one read option, which worked out really well.
Yeah.
It was actually a really good read from Ricky Collins where he got the defensive end to bite towards the handoff. It was a fourth down, and then he took it to the outside and got the first down. Like Ricky Collins can run.
I mean, Haynes King does that too.
Yes.
Perfection.
And I don't understand why they're not running with him. What do you think at home? Should Ricky Collins be running more? Should they be running the Garrett Schrader type offense with Ricky? Call in 315-443-2011. We'd love to hear your thoughts after Syracuse gets absolutely pummeled once again, 41-16 to Georgia Tech. I think you got to run a Garrett Schrader type offense at this point with Ricky Collins.
Yes, but I also think that you've got weapons downfield, and you just got to put the ball within the vicinity. And every time, especially in that Pitt game, and there's so many times where Ricky Collins just underthrows his receivers. And that was the biggest thing about him in camp. Everyone was raving about his arm. He could throw the ball through the dome, right? And we have yet to really see that cannon. I don't know if he's holding back or just misjudging his throws, but I mean, it seems like every game, every start he's had in the SMU game, where he missed Willis wide open on the flat and he would have walked right into the end zone. I mean, there's plays almost every game where Ricky Collins is just not completing these just pitch and catch plays. And he's just underthrowing. And he's got I can't say this enough, like Justice Ross Simmons, Darrell Gill Jr., Jonte Cook. I mean, these guys are good.
They are.
And you can't feed them the rock. That's a problem.
Yeah, there was that one play in the fourth quarter where Dan Villari is wide open, and you had the Madden view of it. You see the whole play develop, and it's just a horrific throw. Could have maybe been a touchdown there, and it doesn't work out. And I think
So
again,
I say that not to cut you off, Adam, but I say that because I think, yes, like running a Garrett Schrader offense would work, and I think Ricky Collins is fantastic when he takes it himself, but you got to make sure you're not overly relying on that because defenses, especially like Georgia Tech, will just read that and they'll just collapse on you every single time. You got to, at some point, open it up a little bit, and that seems to be the problem. They just can't open it up to where they can finally just say, okay, we're going to have a couple of design runs here for Ricky.
But here's the thing that I'll say with that is that you have to find a way to establish the run and make teams actually play the run and respect it.
Yeah.
And right now, teams don't really respect the run that much against Syracuse, which is weird to say because they know that Ricky can't throw the ball. But I think if Ricky was a true weapon in the pass game, or in the run game, I mean, then you would see that happen where teams are maybe putting another guy or two in the box, and then, maybe you see some play action and things develop off of that, where if the read options happen, then you're playing 11-on-11 football. That's one of the things that I've loved to hear about talking with people about Jaden Daniels recently. Of course, you're going to laugh at me for talking about Jaden Daniels here. I have to get my Washington connection, and my goodness, things are awful. But, if you want to have success in modern-day football, a lot of the time you need a quarterback who can run. And the thing about a running quarterback that makes it so different from a running back is then you're playing 11-on-11 football. You have a running back who can block. When you just hand the ball off as a quarterback, you're playing 10-on-11.
Right.
Quarterback's out of the play. When Ricky has it, you're playing 11-on-11. You have another way to look, another way to go, and he's good, and he can run. And if you have Yasin Wilson there blocking, he's a big guy who can maybe do something for you and create a hole or two. And I don't understand why Ricky isn't a part of the run game more, and why
isn't Willis more involved in the run game?
Why isn't the run game working in general? Because they have 157 yards on the ground today, but you have that 41-yard run from Willis at the start, and that's going to mess up the stats the rest of the day, because you take that out and then everything just completely changes. You take that out and they have almost 3 yards per carry on the day, but instead it's an inflated number, and despite having 150 yards on the ground, it never really felt like Syracuse was able to establish the run. Something else with this offense, with the play calling, we were just talking about how there's so many weapons on this Syracuse team. I don't think that they're getting them involved in a way that they should. I think Georgia Tech was a really good example of how to run an offense when you have a dual-threat quarterback. There's so many different things happening. You have to pay attention to Haynes King running the ball. You have to pay attention to their running backs. You have to pay attention to the screens, and they're dumping it into the flats. We don't see that with Syracuse, with the motions, and then they dump it into the flats, and then they throw it underneath.
Pre-snap movement,
It's very bland, and I think that pre-snap movement, something at least a little bit of like Georgia Tech was running would help.
I think the difference is you're working with Haynes King and you're working with Ricky Collins. I know. And
so you got to help out Ricky. That's what I'm saying.
But Fran Brown has said, especially after last game and into this week, that the menu size for Ricky Collins is not very big. He wants to keep things very elementary.
You're going to make me lose my mind on this. That is the most insane thing I think I've ever heard from a football coach.
I understand, but they are just trying to really put Ricky Collins in the best, I don't want to say the best situation, but just saying we are not going to give you anything that's too complex.
But how do you not have your basically full playbook for a guy who was your starter for the entirety of spring ball and had 2 years.
This is what drives me nuts.
He had 2 years developing at LSU under Jaden Daniels, who won the Heisman.
Because it's a lie,
Adam.
It's a lie. Everything Fran Brown said in camp was a lie.
Yeah, he's in his third year of college football. He had an entire spring as a starter, and yet how do you not have a full playbook for the guy?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the fact that Fran Brown said it was a back-and-forth battle all of camp between Steve Angeli and Ricky Collins, we've already, Jay Klein put it perfectly in McClurgan Modeling Countdown to Kickoff before this game. With each game that gets played, it further cements the fact that if you really trusted Ricky Collins, you wouldn't have gone out and got a Steve Angeli.
Not at all.
And it's funny because when Trevor Pena left, that was the whole situation. Was
the quarterbacks don't look great,
right?
Yeah.
He didn't trust Ricky. But I say that to say, Fran Brown talked about how close the battle was, and then Ricky Collins comes in because Steve Angeli goes down, and then all of a sudden Fran Brown has to pivot a little bit and say, well, he's still very young, and we're trying to get him acclimated, and this is a developmental year. Essentially, that's what he's saying. Like, this year is kind of a wash.
You don't have developmental years in college football.
We've got young players that we're looking to just continue to develop. And, one of the things that he brought up after the Pitt game was everyone's worried about the people or the what's the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea.
The commits.
There we go.
Right?
Yep.
And they think that everyone's going to just walk away after seeing this season. He's like, everyone's gonna Whoever has said they're coming to Syracuse will, in fact, come to Syracuse, and he declared that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, at what point, if you're a recruit watching this team, do you think, yeesh, do I really want to go there? My goodness, they're just getting blown out game after game. And
well, they got to get the quarterback situation figured out. I mean, that is for sure. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, Fran Brown. I mean, obviously, you got to have Steve Angeli come back.
I mean, if he's back, it's figured out. An
Achilles tear is horrific to come back from.
It is,
it's
but
a long time.
I have full confidence going into next year that Steve Angeli is going to be a really good quarterback, and that they'll be fine. But we live in a world now where you don't have developmental seasons in college football.
I totally agree. It's win now.
It has to be win now.
We saw that last year with Syracuse.
And here's the thing he says everyone's going to stay, and then guys transfer and he starts calling them snakes, like that Marcellus Barnes, who has been one of the better defensive backs in the ACC. Like, there are going to be guys who leave. Demetrius Samuel, Antoine Delorier, like these freshmen who have been very impressive are going to be getting calls with millions of dollars on the line saying, hey, you want to come here? You just played for a team that won 4 games in the ACC. Come play for us at Auburn. At least we're in the SEC and we'll pay you more. Like we don't live in a world where you have developmental seasons anymore, because if there's a player in the portal who you're trying to get this winter, and the first thing they see is, I don't know much about Syracuse. Let me look them up. Oh, my gosh, they lost their final 7 games of the year and they got outscored by 30 every time. I don't want to play there. Like, that's a thing as much as Fran wants to say it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, obviously, I trust Fran Brown in terms of the recruiting. I think he is very good at connecting with his players, and he's made that a very clear emphasis on it.
That's
when
why
it comes to recruiting.
he's
it's
lying.
Not just recruiting to bring guys in, but it's recruiting on a day-by-day basis, because you got to get them to stay. You got to retain those guys. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of things that Fran Brown has said that now all of a sudden, ever since training camp, you're starting to see things kind of pan out and go, okay, well, maybe this isn't, you can't really take everything he says to heart. There is going to be some things that go on behind the scenes. But I do want to focus back on this game and talk, Ricky Collins. What were your thoughts on them not throwing in Luke Carney at all in this game? Because I thought after like the Pitt game, maybe they were going to start implementing Carney a little bit more, and to go from him getting thrown into the fire, I wouldn't say into the fire, but you throw him into a game for a few plays, and then all of a sudden you don't play him at all the next game. I just think it's like, why would you even put him in that game against Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I don't understand it. We want to hear your thoughts at home. Call in 315-443-2011. Interact with us on X at WAR Sports Talk, on YouTube. I completely agree with you. What was the point of putting Luke Carney in for a couple series against Pitt if he's not even a part of your game plan at all right now? Like, I think the perfect time when we were talking about this in the moment was it's 1st and goal at the 1. Luke Carney, we saw him have a couple designed runs. Put him in there. Sure.
But that's the thing. They're
see what
so
he can do.
Similar. Ricky, if you are putting in Luke Carney for a design run, and you talked about it, and you haven't done it with Ricky Collins, what are you doing?
Well, that's why I don't want to go back and focus on the Pitt game, but the fact that they had multiple design runs for Luke Carney and they didn't have a single one for Ricky Collins today, like, why is that not a part of your playbook? We've seen both of those guys at least a little bit enough that oh my goodness, I can't speak. We've seen those guys enough to know that they're both athletes and that they both can run. So you have to have like a similar playbook. Like, why aren't those designed runs a part of the game with Ricky in? And if they're not, then why don't you put Carney in and just see what he can do? I mean, is it the fact that you're holding on his redshirt year? What you want Luke Carney to be a part of the team in 2029 in his senior year, so you don't want to burn his eligibility this year? Like, I don't understand Ricky's going to play. Ricky's our quarterback. We're not going to run with him, though. And, we'll show you Carney. Maybe he can do something, but no, he's not actually going to play.
But it was nice to have Angeli and Collins as your 1-2, because if you wanted to have like a design run, I'd rather have Collins use his legs than Angeli. But now it's like you've got Carney and Collins, 2 guys that can use their legs. I mean, it's like if you're going to put Carney in and take Collins out, I mean, what would be the point of that?
I honestly, I think it's a bit of a trend right now. We've actually got a caller, Vito from Solvay, who wants to talk about the offensive line. I thought it was another tough day in the trenches. What did you think, Vito?
Every day is a tough day in the trenches when you can't move your feet and you can't block anybody. And the reason they don't run Ricky Collins any further than they do is because if they ran him a lot, he'd be the second coming of Tommy DeVito. He'd be too beat up to play.
I mean, but we live in a world, Vito, don't we, where college football quarterbacks have to run, and especially if Ricky isn't that much better than Luke Carney, like, why wouldn't you rather see them at least try it? Like, you can't just have him sit back there and say, well, we don't want him to get hurt. Like, you look at Haynes King, a potential Heisman guy, he had 91 yards on the ground today and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but he's like 6'3" and what, 210, 220? Ricky Collins, my arms are bigger than Ricky Collins, and I'm 80 years old.
Yeah, I mean, so Vito, what would you do for the next couple weeks with Ricky? I mean, like, how do you change
trust
the
his
offense?
arm to bail you out of those certain situations?
Like, what's the solution then?
The solution is to show up and play football. They're not doing that. They don't block at all. They don't tackle well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Vito. Thank you so much for calling in.
The guy that catches the ball is in a different zip code to the defensive back. You got 1st and 10 at the goal line, and you have to depend on Trip Woody to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Somebody should explain to the offensive line that you don't win a game by having more penalties than the other team. Mm-hmm. They seem not to understand that.
Vito, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It is a tough watch right now. We really appreciate you calling in. Look, here's the thing, Gino, as we wrap up and go to break in a moment. The thing I think that stands out the most when it comes to Ricky Collins is the fact that throwing the football, he can't make the simple plays or the hard ones. Like, that's the one where I really like we said the blocking isn't there. He's not running it the way that we'd like, but even those dump downs, the passes to the flats, like, they're just not there.
That's
and
what
I
I'm
think that's
saying.
what concerns
even
me the most.
on the pitch and catch game, it's just, exactly what you were saying. It's just non-existent. And then even on those deep balls, I mean, there's just several times where he's underthrowing. And I will say, Ricky Collins and, Vito brought up a good point about the offensive line. Ricky Collins does not have a ton of time to get off throws a lot of the time. So I will say that. I think a lot of the blame gets put on Ricky Collins is not always deserved. He is just trying to get the ball off sometimes, and I know that's just part of being a quarterback, but his O-line is certainly not giving him any favors.
No, they're not. But at the end of the day, 41-16, 30-13, 31-18, 38-3. The final scores with Ricky Collins in as the starting quarterback. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping that things change.
Yeah, but you don't have a solution.
At some point, you got to see what Luke Carney can do. You got to see what other options are out there, because this isn't working. Like you say, Ricky Collins gives you the best chance to win. Well, he obviously doesn't give you any chance to win at all. So it's really not working right now. But, if there is a little bit of a positive at all, I think that the defense has been playing a little bit better recently. I thought last game they were really good. This game, the tackling wasn't great, but they were fine in some spots. We'll get into that when we return on the double overtime. Maybe try and find a positive or two in what was a really tough one. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment.
News Hour from the BBC.
Understand what's happening.
With news.
What's going on?
Heat waves, cyclones, storms, floods.
Increasingly unpredictable weather events.
Interviews.
2024 is the hottest year on record.
This is an uncharted situation.
And analysis of the day's global events.
In the Middle East, it's very difficult to be shocked nowadays.
That's News Hour from the BBC.
Weekdays after morning edition at 9 on WAER, your local NPR station.
I listen to Bullseye because I like new and interesting and funny and cool things, and I don't like to do the work to find those things.
I'm Jesse Thorne. On the next Bullseye, we'll talk with Bruce Campbell, the king of campy horror, plus Ana Fabrega, who starred in my favorite spooky comedy, Los Espookies. That's on the next Bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
Sunday morning at 11 on WAER.
Every day, every night, you're hogging my mind.
Jim Lauderdale and the Game Changers join us on this week's Mountain Stage, along with Aaron Lee Tazjan, Lily Hyatt, Joaquin Cooter, and Woodbine.
Hey, this is Jim Lauderdale. Join us this week in live performance on Mountain Stage.
Sunday from noon to 2 on 88.3 FM WAER.
Collins gets the snap, hands off to Nixon. He races forward, he's tripped up. Did he get enough? He did not. Turnover on downs. GT gets it back.
We welcome you back into our Ostrom Avenue studios, the double overtime after a 41-16 domination by number 7 Georgia Tech over Syracuse. With Adam Gotkin, I'm Gino Antamarino. We talked a lot about Syracuse's offense and how much it struggled today, but now it's time to talk about the defense. And when you look at the numbers, it's very easy to just say, hey, this was a pretty bad game all around. But personally, we both talked about it, and there is some good to take away from it. But let us know your thoughts on the defense. Do you think it could have been stronger? Do you think there was, maybe it wasn't as bad as you thought? Call us, 315-443-2011. You can also give us your thoughts on Twitter at WAER Sports Talk. But, Adam, obviously, when you look at the numbers of it, you gave up 41 points. Haynes King completed 81% of his passes. Yes, 81% of his passes for over 300 yards. He scored 3 touchdowns. The defense at times looked really good, and that second drive for Georgia Tech when they were in the red zone, and this is one of the best teams at scoring points in the red zone in the ACC, and you hold them to just a field goal to tie the game up at 3-3. That was about midway through the first quarter. There were times where Syracuse's defense looked pretty strong.
There were, and I think that they did a pretty decent job at times of playing bend don't break defense, of allowing those long drives and then trying your best to hold them to a field goal. The first quarter, I thought the defense was good. Of course, you get that fumble, and then you hold them to a field goal on an 11-play, 72-yard drive. But I think the issue was once Georgia Tech figured out what was going to work, They just started abusing it. And it was pretty obvious of any time that there were motions or crossing routes or anything along those lines where it was going to confuse the defense, they just completely lost their minds.
Yeah.
And the linebackers and Devin Grant looked like he got confused a lot, just had no communication at all with anyone who was motioning across. The 2 touchdowns that they threw to the Josh Beetham Jr.'s first 2 touchdowns of the season, I think, they were both crossing routes, both plays where there was a motion, and on one it was Deuce Chestnut who lost him. On the other, I think it was Grant, and just wide open with a lack of communication on the back end, and it was just so frustrating because they just kept going to it, kept doing the same thing.
I will say, when you come up with these big defensive stands and you recover that fumble on the second play of the game, right, when you had that Chris Peel that strip, and you recover inside Georgia Tech's end, and you only manage to score a field goal. That is very demoralizing. And I know Devin Grant said a little bit ago that it is very, the defense just wants to go out there and give the team the best chance to win. And I know if you ask anybody, that's what's the goal. But, at the end of the day, when you are playing your butts off and you are getting turnovers like that and your offense cannot capitalize, that is just really demoralizing.
It is. By the way, I just saw a quote from the Fran Brown press conference, and we'll get Sam Reese to talk about it. But you want to hear this? Just because I think this is one of the dumber things.
Do I want to hear this?
All right. We know there's a bright future ahead of us. This is from Fran Brown. For us, it's always like Power Rangers or Transformers. Our head Power Ranger went down with Steve. We have to keep working. Like, I don't know if I've ever. I'll tell you this: as Gino takes off his headset, I've never watched Power Rangers. I don't think that's how Power Rangers work. But I mean, sorry, I just had to. I had to say that because that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. That's one of the dumber quotes I think I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, what are we doing?
I don't know.
What? I mean, you just get blown out, and you want to talk about like Power Rangers.
Transformers.
I mean, I'm getting sick of this. I'm getting sick of this kind of it's a building year, and we've got Ron from Syracuse who wants to talk quarterbacks. But Ron, I want to first start off about talking about in this era of win now, and you got Fran Brown talking about we're building for the future. I mean, that's just a little bit frustrating to hear, right?
Yeah, let me just say this, though, guys. I've heard you talking about the situation. We've had Ricky Collins now for 4 weeks in a row, and to be honest with you, in my opinion, he's not the guy.
No.
The quarterback needs, number one, more than a strong arm. You want me to give you a good example? Look at Doug Flutie, what he did through his career as far as you need charisma in a quarterback. You need the team behind you, the guys behind you and stuff. So it takes more than he just seems too laid back and stuff. And even though they're making it simpler and stuff, it still doesn't seem better, to be quite honest with you.
I agree with you.
So do you just go to Luke Carney then? Do you think?
Obviously Luke Carney must not be very good either because they're not seeming to want to use him or whatever. I don't really know what the answer is except that I just don't think Ricky Collins is the guy, and they're trying to make it like he's the guy, but he just doesn't have that whatever it is, like I'm talking about a charisma type thing with the court. And I don't think the team. I think the team knows that too.
Yeah, we were just talking about how you feel so deflated after the defense picks up that fumble and then they only come up with 3 points. I mean, in that moment, Gino and I felt like the offense had no chance if they could get the ball first and goal at the 1 and not even score. I mean, did you think they were going to score a touchdown?
I felt the same way, guys, when you got the first and goal on the 1 and then you come up with 3 points.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it sets the tone for the game. But, let me say one thing else.
Go ahead.
And again, the defense plays good at times and stuff, but I don't think the defense is great. And I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't think they were last year either. We outscored everybody last year because of our quarterback, and we were doing that with Angeli, I think, at the beginning and stuff. But I think the defense still has a ways to go, to be honest.
Yes, I mean, I think it's just all around. And Ron, thanks so much for taking the time to call in.
Okay, guys.
We appreciate it. Always the support. We appreciate it so much. But I mean, I think Coach Fran is using this as an excuse for the defense, the quarterback, anything that you kind of scratch your head on and say, this is kind of a problem. It's just going to say, wait, this is a developmental year.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if it is a developmental year. If this is a season where you're trying to improve, you have to be hypercritical.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to say, man, this stinks, they're horrible here, and we're going to get better.
You're never going to hear Fran Brown
you're never going to.
Ever. He's always going to take the blame.
And it's the issue that I have with Fran Brown of he's such a player's coach. He gets the players to love him so much.
Yeah, did you see what he was doing before the game? Hitting guys
jumping
on
around,
the head, dunking on guys, jumping over their shoulders. It's crazy.
And he has this players coach feel to him, but at the same time, he tries to be this honest guy with the public. You can't try and be this honest person if you're going to be this, players coach, but then you're not going to say anything bad about your players. Like, you have to at some point say, you know what, we did not play good football today. Ricky Collins did not see it.
Unfortunately, I think you kind of have to toe the line and say, in today's era of football, if you are not praising your guys, guys are going to get upset and say, okay, then if you don't respect me, then I'll just go hit the portal. So I don't want to say that you have to always, be giving your guys praise, but I do think there is some hesitancy with the coaches and not wanting to put blame on guys at times because they understand that in doing so might cause them to, in the offseason, say, you know what, I think I would be appreciated somewhere else. But anyways, we want to play a game here on the double overtime.
Try
and pick the mood up a little bit. And with that, so we bring in our producer Milo Hoffman. Milo, always great to hear from you. And we're gonna play a game called Sting or No Sting in honor of the Yellow Jackets, or just since Syracuse played the Yellow Jackets. And so Milo's gonna read us a sector of Syracuse football, and we're going to have to rank on a scale from a bumblebee, a honeybee, or a yellow jacket. How bad is the Sting? So without further ado, let's play Sting or No Sting. Love it there. I mean, that's just some beautiful music. But without further ado, Milo, let's hear our first topic.
Yes, guys. Pleasure to be on. And Sting or No Sting, I think the first time ever on the WAER airwaves. I'm so happy to be playing this game alongside you. So Gino kind of explained it in the first place. I'll sort of reiterate what it is. From a bumblebee to a honeybee to a yellow jacket. How bad is the Sting? How much does it hurt? So the first prompt I'm going to throw out there is the SU quarterback situation. What's the Sting looking like?
Well, I don't even know if a yellow jacket does it. I just Googled the most painful bee sting. I'm saying the carpenter bee. I mean, this quarterback situation is an absolute joke right now. I don't think you have anyone who can look like
carpenter bees. Isn't that the fluffy ones? The ones that don't sting?
According to Google AI, take what you want. That is the most painful bee sting. So it's awful. I mean, the quarterback situation right now it's unwatchable. You got a group of guys who are just not at the level that you need to be at to play in the ACC.
I'm going to go with a bullet ant. I'm going above yellow jacket, not even a bee. A bullet ant. The reason it's called a bullet ant is because when you get stung by one, it feels like you got shot with a bullet. Right now, watching Syracuse football and the quarterback situation is like getting shot with a bullet.
Yeah, that's
you guys are some bee experts over there. I want to see you at Bee World when I travel there next. All right, the next prompt is the orange defense. Where's the orange defense rate on the Sting list?
I mean, I think Ron kind of hit the nail on the head of one of the callers from Syracuse that called into the show not too long ago. I think there's flashes of good. I think there are some flashes of bad. And for that, I'm going to say it's probably right in the middle. I wouldn't say it's overly, I'm
going to give it a honeybee. I think that's what we're looking for here.
I think that's a good place to put it.
Because the honeybee, it makes honey, which is tasty.
Sure.
Who doesn't love some honey in like your tea or with apples? Love honey. But at the same time, if they sting you, it hurts. So I don't think they're getting much help. I think the Bee Movie might have helped with their promotion a little bit, but still people don't love bees. So I think a honeybee works out. It's a painful sting, but they're not getting too much help, I think.
Milo, what do you think about the defense? What do you say?
I think the defense was not great today, and overall it's been a struggle for Syracuse this entire year. But listen, we expected Georgia Tech to go out there and ball out. That's exactly what you did. You can't put it all on the defense, in my opinion. Maybe a honeybee for me. All right, moving on. We've got Syracuse's remaining schedule. It's a tough one. A couple tough games coming up around the corner. Where does this lie on the B marker?
I'll take it first. I'm going to say this is a swarm of flies. And
what?
And the reason I say that is because you understand that, listen, maybe it's horse flies and they bite and it's going to hurt, but you already know you're just going to have to walk through it, right?
Yeah, I guess.
It's just one of those things where it's like there's no getting rid of those flies. Mm-hmm. They're going to just continue to bug you, and you just got to get through it. So I think Syracuse, you got a tough schedule, right? You got Miami, you got Notre Dame, North Carolina at the Dome, and I mean UNC was going toe-to-toe with ranked Virginia today. So I think that the schedule is pretty tough, but the Orange, like Fran Brown has talked about, it's a developmental year. You got to get through it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Initially, I was like, what are you talking about? But yeah, it's like when you walk home and you look up and right outside your front door, there's a nest.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't feel like taking care of that. I want to go home. So you kind of hurry past and you maybe like put the hood on so it doesn't get in. You just do whatever it takes to just get it over with and
Sure.
get past it. So yeah, I'm gonna say like the nest of it's maybe a nest of sleeping Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
Because they could come out and destroy you. I mean, at Miami.
But
at
is
Notre
that
Dame.
the worst thing ever? Like, you get
it's not
destroyed
great.
and it's just like, on to the next.
Well, yeah, it's like a non-venomous with a quick recovery time beat.
Sure, fair enough. All right, last one, Milo. What you got? Make it a good one.
This is making me very uncomfortable. I think I'm getting very shaky over here. I hate the thought of bees. All right, one more question. Like Gino said, Fran Brown's coaching status. Where does this lie on the bee scale?
It's like an ant. I mean, he could not be further from the hot seat.
Yeah, I think people have noticed that maybe he is not going to say everything that is 100% true, like we're seeing with the quarterback situation, but I think people love him, and I think he's here to stay. He connects with people. I think that's one of his strengths that he does very, very well is he knows how to – he'll tell you what you want to hear, and I think that's what makes him a phenomenal recruiter. And I think that's one of his key strengths. Wouldn't you agree? I think he will tell you what you want to hear, and that is exactly what the fans want to gravitate towards.
Yeah, I think if anything, maybe this year helps you out in the fact if there is a 0% chance that any other team is hiring him.
And it's also, I mean,
Like,
you got to give him the benefit of the
he's
doubt.
not
Like,
getting-
if he had Steve Angeli,
Exactly.
is it a different story?
You lose
Like,
your
yeah.
starting quarterback,
Sure.
and we can make fun of that Power Rangers or Transformers. Maybe I would have used like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like you lose Michelangelo and the things kind of start to fall apart. I don't know, just spitballing different cartoons. But I think Fran Brown is fine, and he'll be the head football coach here for as long as he wants to be. And you said it, you lose your starting quarterback, you can't blame him for the team not winning. Like
Sure.
everything revolves around your quarterback. Imagine they lose Kyle McCord last year. Who was the backup for McCord last year? Was it Jakari Williams?
I think so.
Who's now your fourth string? Or is there someone else we're not like? Imagine if Kyle McCord goes down last year. They win like 4 games.
Yeah,
it's the most important position in sports. So
100%.
Like we're mad, we're frustrated now, but you can't forget that.
Absolutely. Okay. We're up against the break here on the double overtime, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're joined by our play-by-play broadcaster, Sam Reese, who was in Atlanta for the game, and so we'll kind of get his words and what was said in the post-game presser from Coach Fran Brown. So still a lot left to unpack as we close up shop a little bit here on double overtime, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
You're hogging my mind.
Jim Lauderdale and the Game Changers join us on this week's Mountain Stage, along with Aaron Lee Tazjan, Lily Hyatt, Joaquin Cooter, and Woodbine.
Hey, this is Jim Lauderdale. Join us this week in live performance on Mountain Stage.
Sunday from noon to 2 on 88.3 FM WAER.
NewsHour from the BBC brings you interviews, news and analysis of the day's top global events.
What's going on?
What happens next?
Let's get more on our top story now.
With reporters across the world covering stories when they happen, wherever they happen.
This place is so remote that it's hard to imagine it as the front line of a major geopolitical row.
NewsHour from the BBC.
Weekdays after morning edition at 9 on WAER, your local NPR station.
The spread formation, Haynes King ready for the snap. He gets it. Fires to the right sideline. Caught. And a spin around move. The ball comes out. Syracuse pounces on it. We're waiting for a word. Syracuse has it.
Welcome back into the double overtime here on WAER. Adam Gotkin and Gino Antamarino with you. G-Man. I call you G-Man, Gino. Either way, we're with you for another 20 minutes here on WAER after Syracuse's 41-16 loss at the hands of number 7 Georgia Tech. And we've got one of our good friends joining us, play-by-play broadcaster Sam Reese, who is down in Atlanta. How's the ATL treating you, Sam?
Reese.
Second time there this year.
That's right. Great to be with you guys first and foremost. And I'm telling you what, every time I come down here, more and more do I get the inkling that I'd love to live down here.
Yeah, I heard they have some cool cars. The Waymos. I've never been in one myself. Was that a fun time?
Yeah, that was a time. It was a fun experience until the end, but yeah.
Every time you go down to Atlanta too, it's always a butt whooping, Sam.
Yeah, bad luck so far.
That's also true. But I'll tell you what, the pregame playlist here was great. Everything was great.
There we go, playlist.
In terms of the atmosphere and all of that, in terms of Syracuse playing football, well, as you guys have touched on, different story.
Yeah, well, the Syracuse football team may not be great, but our WAER legacy looked great today, right? We had you guys on the call in AER. Of course, Matt Park, the voice of Syracuse and AER alum. Andy DeMetro, Georgia Tech and AER alum. Dave Pash on ESPN, WAER. So at least we got that going for us, right?
That's right. Yeah, no, it was really fun catching up with both Dave and Andy. Dave called the Lakers game the other night. Or rather, the Warriors game, Warriors-Nuggets, Thursday night, and then went straight from San Francisco out here to Atlanta. So impressive stuff from him, and then Andy was great too. So, yeah, really cool to catch up with some WAER alums before today.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, we do have to talk about this game. Yet another blowout loss for Syracuse. They've lost the last 4 games by a combined 90 points. But, Sam, at the start, there was a little bit of hope, right? After the fumble on the first drive, Syracuse gets the ball in good territory. They have that big run. I mean, did you feel at all like those Georgia Tech fans were like freaking out in those first couple minutes of the game, or did they kind of have a feeling that they were going to be okay?
No, I wouldn't say freaking out. I think it was definitely a big surprise for sure. Honestly, more than that moment, funny enough, when I felt this place got deflated all of a sudden was that first drive of the third quarter Syracuse put together. Funny enough, and maybe part of that was, everyone wasn't back in their seats, but I just noticed after that touchdown, all of a sudden it got really quiet in here, and I think that's a credit to the fans of just how much energy they brought. It is homecoming weekend, but in terms of that first drive, I didn't get the sense that they were that nervous even after the fumble. In fact, I think them preventing Syracuse from getting into the end zone and just forcing a field goal kind of gave them all the confidence in the world. And you got the sense here at Bobby Dodd Stadium, which is a really cool place, by the way, that, everything was going to be all right. The offense would get going eventually, and I think they were correct when all was said and done.
Sam, I want to ask you about what was said after this game. I mean, what was the main message from Fran Brown? Was there anything that kind of stood out? I mean, that we heard or I guess we saw the Power Ranger quote that he had, but was there anything that you were kind of taken aback from? Was there anything that kind of stood out to you?
No, if I'm being honest. I won't say it was a whole lot of nothing, but I'll say it was a whole lot of not much. If I'm being honest. It seemed like Fran definitely went into the press conference making it clear that the focus right now is on big picture stuff, which I guess in a way is kind of, deflecting things off of just this game and this loss. But also, I guess, what else can you really say at this point?
Yeah, I mean,
think
Sam,
everyone knows.
That's what we were talking about, right? Like, he just, I feel like he's very much just kind of deflecting at this point, saying it's a developmental year.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to be honest. He touched on some of the young guys he played. We saw Gabe Daniels out there.
Right.
Hill returning obviously has been a thing, but he was involved quite a bit. We saw Davion Kerr out there on offense. He's only listed as a defensive player, but he said he was doing well in practice, wanted to give him a chance. So it seemed like that was the predetermined plan coming in, where Fran kind of wanted to mix things up and give these young guys a chance.
Why not?
Which is a clear sign to me that he is focused on the future. I mean, you're playing the best team you've played so far in Georgia Tech, but that was still, even so, his plan kind of going into this game, where he wanted to give some guys a chance. Byron Washington on the offensive line was heavily involved, even more so than Ferguson, so he's really stepped up into that role as well. And he's been doing great on that offensive line. Of course, Syracuse has experienced some injuries, so I guess that's kind of my main takeaway, that I wouldn't call it experimenting, but Fran Brown wanted to give some guys chances, and since a lot of those guys were young, it is a clear sign to me that he has an eye towards the future already, which is, again, like, what else can he do at this stage?
I will say, I think, and Adam, you can jump in. I think that, given how rough this schedule is, if Syracuse can retain a lot of the guys from this year, and I do have faith in Fran Brown that he can do it.
I agree.
I mean, this is the perfect schedule to be throwing guys into the fire and just saying, like, just play football, like, and from here we can build. But this is the test. This is the test to see what you've got. And we've seen guys like Antoine Delorier step up. We've seen guys like Demetrius Samuel step up, and it's like, okay, now we know who can be our kind of backbones moving forward with the program.
That's just not the world we live in anymore, though.
Right.
Like, we live in a world where everything is so now and so focused on the now. And no one cares about what happened 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. No one cares that you beat Clemson and had that incredible win a couple weeks ago or there's a month ago because now you're awful. And I think it's – I understand
even the restaurant I just ate at, it was chicken now. Not chicken in 20 minutes. Chicken now. Shout out the place in Syracuse.
Yeah, we have a talk show now, right? So we have
there
to
you go.
assess it as it is right now.
I guess, but one of the things that I think made the least sense to me in this game, Sam, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts and hear if Fran had anything to say about this, is the way that they use Ricky Collins. We again saw him have a good amount of success running the football. Especially like when he gets into a groove and the offense is playing fast and he looks comfortable when he is scrambling and looking up. Like, did Fran talk about that at all or any sense of that?
It's funny you asked that because I don't want to toot my own horn, but that was the question I asked him.
Nice job. Good job, Sam.
Nice, Sam. That's journalism, capital J right there.
I try sometimes. And, I basically asked, 14 rushes for Ricky Collins. Something that I noticed is, that he's actually pretty good being mobile. So I asked him, was that part of kind of the game plan coming in and an adjustment that you wanted to make with Ricky? And it was interesting because he kind of gave the answer I expected, but he made it clear that he wants that to be a more prevalent option for Ricky to utilize. He said straight up to start the answer that, he hasn't been seeing downfield well, so we kind of wanted that to be more of an option for him, and that's how it played out. So I kind of appreciated his honesty in that sense because I do get what he's saying, but at the same time, I also see Ricky run the ball, and I'm like, you know what? That's kind of a strength. Like, he's actually decent at, like, pretty good at it. And you know what I'm saying? So, like, I expected him to praise his running ability a little more, but he made it seem like more of, that's kind of another option we want to be more open for him because of how he's been struggling throwing the ball, if that makes sense.
And just while we're talking quarterbacks, was there any mention, anyone asking about Carney? Why didn't he come in? Was that at all something?
No, it wasn't brought up at all. So, I thought maybe will someone ask this? Should I ask this? But, no one else did. He didn't seem to, be interested in touching on the subject at all either. I think it was clear today that it's Ricky Collins' team playing the whole game. Even so, like, it was still a blowout towards the end, and he still rode with him. I think that was a clear message today, even after last week was kind of weird, where you put Carney in for a few plays in that third quarter, and after today, that made me feel more and more like that truly was Fran Brown trying to motivate Ricky and saying, let's try to motivate you. You got to up your game here, and there's only so much he can do to up his game. Where I think we're kind of seeing what we can expect to get the most out of Ricky Collins. That's just the reality, right?
Like, why would you not put Luke Carney in a blowout, right?
Yeah, I tend to agree.
If he doesn't have fully everything that it takes right now to be a starter, don't you want to at least give him a couple chances? You have a couple more games to play with before he burns his red shirt.
If you don't want... If your mindset was it is Ricky Collins, it's his team, it's his show, then why would you put Carney in the pit game? And why only put him in to throw
to run
three
the ball
passes and hand the ball off? I mean, what is the point of that?
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I'm saying like today was more and more of a sign to me that one of the only reasons Fran did that was to kind of light as much of a fire as he could under Ricky.
Didn't work.
Saying you're still my it didn't really work. To be fair, like towards the end of that Pitt game, I guess he was that was the start of me seeing he's willing to be a little more mobile, and that might be a strength, and we saw a little bit more of that today to lead this offense. And so he's still standing down on the fact that he believes Ricky is what's best for this offense right now and that there are no better options, which baffles me a little bit. Like, I have to think if he gives Carney a chance. I mean, that's a guy who, I get he's a freshman, but like he balled out in high school in Texas, like a state that's great for high school football. He had insane stats there.
First player ever to win 4 state titles as a starter.
Yeah.
And it was private
insane.
school, which isn't as big, but still.
Yeah. Sure.
In the state of Texas, that's impressive.
Right, that's still impressive. So it is interesting to me where it's like, is there something up with Luke Carney to the point where like Fran doesn't trust him so much? I don't think so, right?
What I don't understand with Fran's Luke Carney talk is that he says that his biggest intangible is how he's able to process and his game and his brain, and yet he can't run the offense. Like, that's one of those things that I just don't understand. It makes no sense to me.
I'm with you.
It makes absolutely no sense. Well, one more thing for you, Sam, before we unfortunately have to let you go.
Sure.
Looks like a crazy press conference room at Georgia Tech, huh? You guys were just in the weight room?
That was really weird. The weirdest room I've ever been in for a press conference. Yes, we were literally in the weight room.
Nice.
I thought, my partner Luke Burgess was going to get a workout in while we were waiting for Fran.
Well, hey, Vito, one of our callers earlier said that Ricky Collins has smaller arms than him, so maybe
he's
you
80.
Well, there you go. I know where the weight room is if Ricky wants me to guide him there, and I guess his coach now does too. That was a very weird setup. Not enough seats for media members.
Yeah, there were like 4 seats.
Yeah, 4 seats. I got to stand for the press conference and ask a question standing, which was a little different.
Nice.
Kind of a makeshift situation, but take nothing away from this stadium. I know we have to wrap up, but just quickly, like, this place is really cool, though. Like, I know it's a makeshift situation for the visiting press conference, but the stadium as a whole is really cool. I mentioned it on the broadcast. This is the oldest stadium, and also they'll mention to you the winningest stadium in Division I football and FBS, but they've made like some renovations to keep it pretty modern, and it's a really cool, like, intimate atmosphere. The fact that it's right, like, in the city of Atlanta, this whole Georgia Tech campus is really a cool element. The skyline's
so
sick, and if you think about it, there's no other ACC team, I guess, aside from SMU, that's really like in the heart of a city like this, and you kind of see Atlanta surrounding, and it's cool how everyone's rallying behind this team too. It's still it still has the lure of a college campus, and like fans that are excited. So it was a cool experience all around.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. First sellout for an ACC game in 10 years there. Fans seemed excited, and they were definitely given something to cheer about, a 41-16 win over Syracuse. Sam, have a safe trip back to Syracuse.
Sam, have fun in Atlanta. Don't go too crazy.
Thanks, guys. I won't, just
I know
hanging
you.
out with WAER alum Andrew Sullivan.
Nice,
nice.
Atlanta
Tell
native.
Andy I said hello.
We will. Looking forward to seeing you guys back in the 315.
All right, well, it's time to wrap things up, and we will end this show as we always do here on the Double Overtime with our final words. Gino, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
You just got to get through this season. Like, I think that there's only so many times you can beat a dead horse, and I think that every game that gets played, it's just the same things, right? And I think whether it's Ricky is not your guy, Carney is your guy, like, at the end of the day, I mean, do you think Carney's going to go in there and beat Miami? And I know it's one of those things where it's like, well, you got to try. At the same time, I just think at this point, it sounds like Fran Brown is, I'm not going to say he's checked out for this season because he's still obviously trying to win games. And we saw that at the start of this game against Georgia Tech, and we saw how passionate he was, running in the sidelines, jumping on his guys. Like, he's fired up, which I love to see. But at the same time, he said it's a developmental year, and I think we have to understand that this is not going to be a fun end of the season. You might get some good glimpses, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of losses, and you got to get through this year.
Well, you say you got to get through this year. I'm looking after this year and to basketball season. That's my final word. Tune into the exhibition game here on WAER in 2 hours. That is what I'll leave you all with. This is a basketball season that I think is pretty exciting. I'm definitely pessimistic after the last 2 years of Adrian Autry.
I'm sick of drinking the Kool-Aid, Adam.
There's been a lot of Kool-Aid thrown at us.
There has been.
It has not been great, but you know what? New season, fun exhibition today. They play against Buffalo at the KeyBank Center. That is an NHL arena where the Buffalo Sabres play. So fun.
Heck yeah.
A cool opportunity. That game is not on TV anywhere, so if you want to know what's going down, then you got to tune in here on WAER. Our good friends Josh Richardson and Jish Sokolsky have made the drive
Jish and Josh
over to Western New York, and I know they're excited for what should be a fun one. There's a lot of new faces that I'm excited to hear for the first time. You got, I think Nate George is probably the one that I'm most excited to see, just because maybe he has a chance to be a actual ACC, all ACC caliber point guard. He came from Georgia Tech, and while I don't like that he doesn't have the afro anymore, I think he lost some of his aura. I think he can still be a really solid point guard.
I think Sadiq White is going to impress a lot of people. I think a lot of the attention has been on Kai and Anthony, and rightfully so, but you got to give some respect to Sadiq White. I think he's going to be fun to watch this season.
Yeah, I think Sadiq defensively definitely has a lot of potential. I don't know how much it'll all come together. There's been issues with the coaching staff over the last couple of years for this basketball team, and you can't put it any other way. The defense, the offensive sets, it doesn't look good to watch. So this is it. And, the big thing I think for this Syracuse basketball team is they have to dominate. They have to dominate teams early in the season if they want to have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. And, it is an exhibition tonight, but
hey, no Youngstown State games
or Lemoyne or anything like that. Even though it's an exhibition, you want to see the Orange dominate, and maybe we'll hear it. Who knows? Anything can happen. Well, we're ready to wrap things up here on the double overtime after Syracuse's 41-16 loss to number 7 Georgia Tech. Just want to say, because I haven't touched on this yet, Georgia Tech is not the 7th best team in the country. And I think watching that was absolutely clear. They have a strength of schedule, I think, outside the top 70. Their FPI, their Football Power Index, the ESPN ranking is 27. We saw it today. They're not a top 7 team in the country. Syracuse should have kept this closer.
Yeah, I don't think any Syracuse fan cares.
No. That's fair. Well, either way, if you are a college football fan, I would say maybe fade Georgia Tech a little bit. I don't think that they're the best ACC representative come playoff time. I think that this is a team that might get absolutely destroyed by any real college football power. Well, that's unfortunately all the time that we've got here on the double overtime. We thank you all so much for tuning in. Even though things can get tough after a 4th straight blowout loss, we try and have fun here on WAER. Well, once again, we'll be back on the airwaves in just about 2 hours as Syracuse takes on Buffalo in an exhibition game at the KeyBank Center. The next football broadcast next Friday, Halloween night, Syracuse takes on North Carolina. McClure Remodeling countdown to kickoff is at 7 for a 7:30 kickoff. Double overtime goes until 12:30. Big thank you to our producer, Milo Hoffman, our engineer, Drew Albaugh, our WAER Sports Talk desk of Corey Miller, Rowan Mastrangelo, and Daniel Herzog. A big thank you to Sam Reese for calling in. For Gino Antamarino, I'm Adam Gotkin. Have a great night, Syracuse.
Hey, it's the Grateful Dead Hour.
And my old guitar. Oh, honey, let me sing old blues away. Everybody's playing in the Heart of Gold Band, Heart of Gold Band. So the kids, they dance and shake their bones. Cantaloupe Armory, where the music's thundering. Strangers stopping strangers just to shake their hand. Everybody's playing in the band.
Welcome to the Grateful Dead Hour. I'm David Gans. This week I've got an archival program for you, an interview with bassist Rob Wasserman that originally aired on the Grateful Dead Hour in February of 1994. Wasserman was already a well-known bassist when he and Bobby Weir started playing together as a duo in the 1980s.